Alright, that's probably enough.
Good evening, lady, possibly, gentlemen, not all that likely, dudes, animals, dogs, cats,
Bros.
whatever will be there. If you're listening to our podcast, then congratulations, you have done the right thing. If you're looking at us live, achievement unlocked, because we are a secret feature this weekend as far as Magic the Gathering content goes.
Yeah, we're buried pretty deep behind the 8 million people watching.
But that's okay. That's okay. We're not here for the live portion today. We're here because we got to hammer this out. And if we didn't meet up tonight, the week would pass us by, and that's not how we do things for our listeners. So we are broadcasting to you live Saturday night of Grand Prix Vegas. So that might be one of our topics. Thankfully, Modern Masters relates heavily to Cube, so that's very helpful. But that's why if no one shows up in the chat and you're listening to this after the fact, that's why.
Been watching the stream coverage. LSV has a spicy brew.
Mono artifacty business.
Yeah, he was doing some pretty disgusting things with Esperzoa and Sanctum Gargoyle.
See, the thing that's interesting to me is those are all commons and uncommons. That's not that out of the ballpark.
What's interesting I saw was a tweet from Aaron Forsyth. It was like, fun fact about Modern Masters, we never once tested the sealed format because they added this GP after the production cycle was done. So,
while I had not read those exact words from him, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
The set is very much geared towards drafting, as you can tell. Which is beautiful because that's what we wanted to as Cube players. And, it's so great just watching coverage and seeing Hillcomer Giants, Blight Speakers, Esper Zoas, and Pyrosaurs, all these things in play that have been such great staples of prior limited formats, and kind of remembering the tricks and the interactions of those limited formats and then bashing them all together at high speed. I think nothing really accentuates what Modern Masters limited format is more than a card like Avian Changeling. I mean, there's so many things that card does that I love every bit of it. I mean,
Right. It triggers so many things.
Yeah, it's the glue around so many things. I mean, I was just thinking about making a big off-palette Microderm, or sacking it to palette Microderm,
or powering up Thundercloud Shaman.
Right, after searching for it with your Blight Speaker.
Prowling for Latchkey Fairy.
Yeah, again, the glue of the format, as it were. So, again, normally if you're tuning in on the live side, we are 90% Cube, 10% as Eck has put it, Magic Pulpery today. But with the Grand Prix going on and all the hullabaloo surrounding Modern Masters, thankfully it's close enough to the Cube limited format. I feel that we're giving it a little bit of leeway to talk about that subject this evening. All starting yesterday with the incredible cap that we saw with 4,500 people, the incredible line to get in for a free booster pack of Modern Masters.
So much value.
That's the thing, is in previous podcasts and previous iterations in the last couple of weeks, I was trying to gauge the numbers for the Grand Prix, and I kept saying that, I love Magic players, they're my favorite people on the planet, but they are some of the laziest people on the planet. They're all going to be showing up Saturday morning.
How do you feel, about the cap that they instituted and the changes, the very late stage changes to registration that they made?
Well, it ended up being something that was very smart on the part of Tim Shields, the event organizer. Now, initially, when we heard about it, the first thing I thought was, it's because of product. We hit a product limit, a cap, that's all they're going to get. That was going to be the problem. Tim was nice enough to come around a little after the fact and point out for us that no, it was a staffing issue. He just didn't feel comfortable having that many people based on the amount of staff he had. And that being said, I mean, that's huge. To me, I still remember the days of prior TOs that will remain unnamed that would have gladly taken as many dollar bills as Magic players would have handed them and then run some form of event after all the money was in said person's hands. So it's very, very admirable.
I was just very concerned. My initial thought was when they made all of these announcements and changes, you can't register on site, it's going to be cut off, it's capped, all this stuff, there was going to be, I thought, the instant thing I thought was, there's going to be some contingent of players that show up Saturday morning, they're like, alright, I'm here for Modern Masters, and they get turned away, and it was going to turn into this whole hullabaloo because, they didn't get the memo.
Right, well, I mean, initially, when we heard about it, that was the thing, where it's like, well, so you put this out through social media, that's not going to reach everyone.
Right.
But I think Wizards got that message, and very quickly, front page of MagicGathering.com in big, bold print, it was like, hey, by the way, this is happening. So I don't fault them in that regard. I think what's really rough, and who I ultimately feel bad for, are the Las Vegas area, Greater Henderson County locals, who are the ones who are like, I don't need to go through the process of pre-registering.
Right.
This is my hometown.
Like they're at like their local gaming stores or whatever. They're like, I'll go to the GP, and then like maybe they don't. They're casual players. They don't check the website. They never heard about it.
Heaven forbid that you're one of those guys, rallying the troops at your F&M, being like, you got to go. Well, I don't know. It's like, well, it's okay. You got time, and now
all of a sudden
you don't have time anymore. So. As nice as it was that there was a cap that allowed there for it to be to break the Guinness World Record of most people shuffling cards at the same time. It was unfortunate, and I feel for the people in Henderson County.
I heard word that might have gotten screwed up though.
Right. Well, I was gonna. Yeah. Yes. That is an issue of what are packs you open property or are they yours? But hopefully, as I heard the rumors, and I don't know entirely how true this was, lines started forming Friday morning at just after 3:30 in the morning.
I wouldn't be surprised.
For doors open at 9 for 100 walk-up registrations. And that doesn't even include, yes, Magic players have a penchant to be a little on the lazy side, a little on the sleep-in side. But my gusto to everyone that was like, I'm getting that free pack, I'm playing that free Mini-Masters.
You're getting at least one free pack.
I'm standing, yes, at least. There you go, Value Town. I'm standing in line for no less than 2 hours to make that opportunity happen in the Nevada heat, which is not
inconsequential.
No, to neither of us, as you can tell, winter folk.
Mm-hmm.
So kudos, congratulations, Tim. Huge props for the way you've run this event so far. Incredible, everything you got done. So that was like disaster number 1, averted. Everything's spectacular. Bring us up to Saturday morning. Everyone's amped. This place is packed to the... Well, it's not packed to the rim because it's huge.
There's 4 GPs happening in the same building.
Right,
basically.
Which is spectacular. Something that Gavin Verhey had mentioned actually on the stream and had tweeted about was, look at all the things that are at this event. You've got an art gallery. You've got cosplayers. You've got booths selling unique and different items that aren't just Magic cards, like the Sign in Blood notebooks. It's really... This is exactly what I'm talking about, where Magic needs its own kind of convention at this point. We know we can draw it. And granted, this is still the perfect storm, I think. But there's enough draw there where I would definitely go to much more of a Magic weekend to see all these things, partake in all these things, hang out with all my Magic buddies.
Yeah. Especially now that Pro Tours are private.
Yeah, one more link in the chain you just don't have access to.
Yeah.
The guys over at Brainstorm Brewery, in conjunction with the guys over at Heavy Meta, both great podcasts that I've spoken to those guys recently. They got a house together. They were doing a barbecue last night. It was just this great opportunity to hang out, booze cube, and just be with your friends about Magic. It wasn't about the Grand Prix, and I've said this a lot. It's how many people would have showed up if first place was just a trophy?
The same amount. I mean,
that's what's so great about the whole thing.
The difference between like the amount of like entry fee to someone did the math where. So like they were comparing it obviously to like the World Series of Poker events because it's like they're going on at this time, and someone said that like if this was a poker tournament run by the WSOP, like here's how it would be different with the same entry fee and everything. 4,500 players, $60 a head, They're like first place would be a little over, I think it was something like 50 grand or something like that. It would take 4 days to finish. The cost, the staffing cost would be like higher, but the difference in like lack of product, they would go through like 2% the total number of cards, and like all this. So it's like very interesting, like at the fact that the prizes at GPs are not scalar.
Well, yeah,
it really kind of like for larger events like this, no one is going for like their $3,500 check because they've won.
Right, and that plays into the hand of Wizards of the Coast, where they can't make it a scaling event because that changes the structure of the whole thing.
Right.
Prize money is very different from tournament payouts.
But it's like it's just a very interesting discussion of like...
No, these kind of infographics I love. And for events like this, the number of basic islands destroyed over the course of this weekend, the number, the poundage of garbage generated by players opening packs, there's all stuff that
I think I saw a post that was like, congratulations to the 16 people who opened foil Tarmogoyfs.
Right, all that stuff is spectacular, which bleeds perfectly into the next topic and what we were talking about earlier, which is at what EV, which I hate saying, at what point do you wake up, get that sealed pool, and not only decide that you're not going to play and you're going to drop, but also have the feeling of entitlement where what I'm looking at is mine right now?
Well, I think, Wizards has been very clear that you are allowed to take your product and drop immediately. You do not have to, register it, ship it to someone else.
Because you're clearly stating it's your product at that point in time. And that's where the fuzzy area is.
But it's not like Wizards has ever said, you're not allowed to do this or whatever, and it's like some legal fight that players are having. Wizards says, yeah, it's okay. Well, so at that point, people who want to open their product and drop, and I mean, really, like, look at it this way, right? And this plays into the limited payout structure of GPs also, I think, for people. If you're, even if you think you are for sure, very good and can cash a 4,500 person GP, right? You're probably looking at, unless you go very deep, you're looking at like a $200-ish check, right? So I saw a picture today on Twitter of a guy who took a picture of a seal pool, and it was foil goif, regular goif, sort of fire and ice.
That's got to be the best pool opened.
So that's what he opened, right?
Okay.
So at that point, you could just take those cards, earn basically more money.
Top 32 money.
Yeah, you can earn top 32 money, and then you don't have to be locked into being at a convention center for 2 days.
Yeah.
And it really comes down to like enjoyment of playing the event, because like this event, more so than probably any other in history, has like, it's actually in your favor financially on value to take your cards and drop if you open certain things.
Which is part of the perfect storm that creates this entire event this weekend.
Right.
I just, you can't have a legitimate conversation about your expected value if you drove in a car for 12 hours, you chipped in on gas, you chipped in on hotel.
I mean, it's an oversimplification for sure, but like, if you say you lived in Vegas.
No, that's not the same. I'm saying you traveled to this event. I'm not saying you're one of the people that woke up, drove 20 minutes, slept in your own bed.
Right.
I'm saying for anyone that traveled to this event, for me, the threshold would have to be just about as high as you mentioned for me to even consider it. Because I could go to Vegas any week and I could have the Vegas experience, but I can't have the experience of being in a room with 4,500 Magic players and playing Magic for 2 days.
Oh, absolutely not.
Any day of the week.
You're paying, if you're going to the event, if you're traveling to the event, your expectation should be that you're going to play. The only people who, to me, make sense that they would drop are people who are like from the area, who have a minimal cost associated other than the $60 entry fee. Because there's nothing you're going to open that's going to cover your plane ticket, hotel, gasoline, whatever.
But let's say, okay, so what you're saying is, if it did, you would be enticed to do it. If Kyle Eck could open up a sealed pool of Modern Masters, and with all prior expenses to get in the door that morning,
roll my weekend.
Kind of.
But like, no, I'm saying like theoretically.
Okay.
Right? Like if I'm flying or driving, if I'm whatever I'm staying in a hotel, the cost of entry, all this stuff.
I mean, we could even price it out because you're in California. You know people. You know how to use Southwest Airlines website. You could end up in the situation.
If I were to add all this up to $1 amount,
you and
then I opened the product that was
$600 sealed pool.
Right, plus the playmat and everything else.
But you can cash that stuff out and still play Magic.
Sure.
If anything, that hurts your expected value on not playing the tournament.
Sure. Well, yeah, okay. But, your sealed pool, you open, like, runner, foil goifs or something. So,
let's stick with 2 goif, foil goif.
If you open product of anything, and the value is now, okay, this is now, like, free-rolling your weekend.
You would take it.
I think I would take it and go... I could still have fun at the event and hang out with the people I want to hang out with and do other things.
True.
And it gives you more flexibility, which is nice, especially in a place like Vegas, where there is a literally unlimited amount of things to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't necessarily do this. Let's say the 4,500 GP Modern Masters was taking place in... See, I will do this because this is my hometown. The warehouse shack of Toronto outside the airport that it was held at.
Right.
Where there was literally nothing to do.
Or like in Wayne's World where they're talking about Delaware.
Yeah, magically whisked away to Delaware. Of course, we're going to... Let's not badmouth Delaware, because I'm sure the next GP...
Yeah.
I don't know. See, I'm not going to disagree with you, but I'm going to say it's going to be a real hard sell for me to get all the way there, get my hands dirty and be like,
I'm not
"You know what?
arguing that.
I'm out."
I'm not arguing that point at all. I'm just saying, like, you have to realize that what you're paying for when you go to a Grand Prix when you're doing something like this is the experience of doing it.
Which is why I completely endorse just play.
Yeah.
That's my whole thing. I mean, those are really the people we're calling into question. It's those small value players.
I mean, at the same time, also, like, you know, there's the discussion of, like, well, if you somehow managed to deck reg all of these things ahead of time, so you didn't have to exchange the packs, like, if you could take that step out of the starting process of a GP or any event, you don't have this problem, right?
Okay.
Because if the packs that you know, if there was some, obviously I don't have anything in mind, but if there was some way that the cards that they handed you
were both already registered and now yours,
right? So that this is what you're making with the shield deck. You're never doing anything
PTQs
else.
have done this. I'm going to give a props and shout out to Glenn Goddard of Sun Mesa Events. He was doing this for a couple of years now, where the judges would register a certain number of pools ahead of time, and then the initial players who signed up early, sometimes they got a discount, sometimes they got some kind of other party favor, would start regging pools an hour, 2 hours before an event would start, in the hopes that, you know, a 200-person room could just be handed a pool and be done.
I also saw some discussion on Twitter. I'm not sure whatever came of this, but people were talking about, like, blah, 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 like, dropping or whatever, and someone from the staff side of GP Vegas piped up and said, like, if you seriously just want 6 packs of Modern Masters for $60 and you're registered for Vegas, come see me. I will give them to you and drop you from the event so someone else can play.
I didn't see that information. That seems like an interesting line to draw with what you would.
I mean, I think that's obviously, like, stupid because now you're just driving to the middle of the desert for booster packs.
But you're also letting 4,500 people actually play in the event that really want it.
No.
I mean, we're not even going to touch the subject of the people that were turned away that actually want to play in the event regardless of what they open. I mean, that's not really a number you could pick up.
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. At the end of the day, I would have played regardless of what you handed me.
Yeah.
My best example was, you know, back in an Onslaught block, PTQ sealed, opened up Foil Delta, looked around at everybody.
Look, it's foiled over.
Back in the tournament box or starter deck box, whatever it was called back then. Shipped it off. You know, I was like, okay, well, you know, this will be fun. Got that pool back. Promptly, like 3-2'd the event.
Right,
with
but you're free rolling, so it's fine.
Well, it was one of those things where it was like, you know, I came here to play. I mean, maybe this scale, this size, something different. But it's really, what I was trying to get to is those small ball players, those guys that open $150 buy list sealed pools. Those are the people dropping. How do you feel about that situation?
I mean, it really just comes down to a personal. It's on an individual level how much you value playing in a GP.
All right.
And how the enjoyment you get from the competition and the potential of winning. And I mean, I think also, like, if your pool was somehow, which I don't even think you can have a bad pool in this format because it's so high powered.
Yeah, this is
very little chat.
This is a great format to just be a deck builder and be someone that sees all the interactions, because there's so many opportunities in sealed.
Sam Black was talking about having 2 decks at minimum ready and sleeved so that he could sideboard and swap an entire deck.
That sounds
depending on matchups.
Awesome and smart.
Yeah,
and really diverse. That's a level of depth that I'm glad is there that I would not have expected to be there, and you know, it might be more of a byproduct of what Aaron was saying, that it was a format that was not tested in the sealed environment so much. Just like we never test Cube in the sealed environment.
Right.
We just kind of throw cards.
It's horrible.
We just haven't figured out look, the stew is bubbling. We just need to get the right seasoning for right sealed deck for Cube.
Speaking of Cube, should we do some draft picks?
Let us do some draft picks. Let us let GP Vegas stew. We are not checking the stream, so we don't know if we're between rounds anymore. There could be hot coverage going on, and if this room actually bottoms out and no one answers their picks in the chat, it's okay. We've got room to fill, but go ahead and take it away, Eck. It's pick one, pack one today on the Magic Box.
All right, pick one, pack one. We've got a Wheel of Fortune, Scavenging Ooze, Living Death, Smokestack, Withered Wretch, Upheaval, Landware Elves, Ravenous Baboons, Crib Swap, Abrupt Decay, Oblivion Ring, Tainted Pact, Watery Grave, Inquisition of Kozilek, Sword of Feast and Famine.
Okay, I see like 3 hot cards of different colors that I would want to start getting a deck around. I also see a sword, and I think that's where it ends. decks. What jumps out at you here?
I think the safe pick here is sort of Feast and Famine. Very powerful. You're going to play it in basically every deck. Control deck or aggro is going to like it. If you want to get a little more bold, I like either Living Death or Upheaval.
Those are definitely the two easiest kind of build around me, kind of semi-build around me strategies.
Yeah.
Obviously, with Living Death, you'd like to set it up as much as possible, but oftentimes it's just a 5-mana Wrath of God, which is just fine. And obviously, we can't, we strum the harp for Upheaval as often as we see it. I think those are definitely the easy to jump out at me. Like, I can take these. I'm definitely going to move. It's double color already. I'm going to move into this area, and I want to make this happen. And then sitting kind of on the outside in third place in that same vein is something like Wheel of Fortune, where strategies abound with it, but it's difficult to take. I mean, I think it's strong to take it out of the gate to abuse it, but I think it's behind the other two cards that you've mentioned.
I think that if I'm taking a card after Living Death and Upheaval and Sword, I think I'm taking Oblivion Ring just because it's so versatile.
This is a very strong pack. There just happens to be an Oblivion Ring that's almost not even worth mentioning, which is really strange. The Sword has kind of 1 vote Sword, 1 vote Upheaval with a backed up Sword into Smokestacks, which is interesting because I think Smokestacks is while it can be a nice build around me strategy, is a little loose right here.
Bad.
It's not. It's just it's one of the list of like half a dozen cards that Kylek cannot draft.
And
Smokestacks.
because they are bad.
Sure. We have another vote Upheaval in the chat, which it's hard not to. It's the blue card. It's the only.
It is the only blue card.
Ironically, Sword is the every card. I mean, this is kind of a good time to kind of weigh the value of swords. If that was a Fire and Ice in that place, would you do the same kind of snap off sword situation?
Yes.
Okay.
If it was Light and Shadow or War and Peace, I would not take it.
Okay, and probably
the line is Feast and Famine, Sophie above, and War and Peace, Light and Shadow below.
Okay, that's a good it's a good time to point out kind of where we rank the swords. We don't play Body and Mind because it kind of just creates a bad sub game if you're not familiar with that. But Feast and Famine is one of those things where, yeah, I mean, I could be playing mono blue, and I will still take a Sword of Feast and Famine.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. It's ironic because let's say this was 16th pick, and I was like 8 counter spells, 2 bounce spells, and a Lone Revenant. I would not take a Fire and Ice.
Interesting.
But I would take a Feast and Famine.
Why?
Because it's very good against both sides of the spectrum, like control and aggro decks. Like against the aggro decks, I'm going to be able to slam it in early, untap my lands to keep counter magic up, and make them discard a card. And against control decks, it has inevitability.
Okay.
As where sort of Fire and Ice is only like another closer against control decks. Like it's really slow against aggro decks.
It's also very powerful.
No, don't get me wrong. Like
shocking their guys is very good.
Drawing cards is good. Having protection from red is good. That's the only circumstance where I might change that evaluation. But it looks like we're both taking Sword of Feast and Famine out of this pack.
Yeah. Alright, we've got some scenarios to look at. So this is we are in the middle of a draft, pack 1. The 4 cards we have are Survival of the Fittest, Garrick Relentless, Revelark, and Strip Mine.
I like what we've got.
This is definitely a U brew.
Because it went 2 powerful green cards into a Revelark?
Into a Strip Mine.
How do you not take Strip Mine?
So the pack we are past is Eureka, Bad River, Maelstrom Wanderer, Cunning Spark Mage, Stupor, Undercity Informant, Lone Revenant, Balance, Necrotal, Guardian Idol, Godless Shrine. What do you take and why?
Huh. That's probably one of the few times in my... Well, no, I'd probably still take Balance.
This is possibly the worst Balance deck.
No, what are you talking about? You have 4 cards. One of them's an enchantment, the other one's a Planeswalker.
But, like, green-white very rarely is a good Balance deck, because you're looking to put a ton of dudes into play.
Yeah.
Or a bunch of lands into play.
Yeah,
or both.
yeah. I want to take Balance, but you are probably correct in that this is the worst color combination / strategy.
I think I just
Balance.
I probably just want to take Godless Shrine.
With the hopes of like wheeling like Undercity Informer?
No.
Just because?
So I really like Survival of the Fittest and I really like Revelark, and these decks tend to be best when they're junk. Like the Doran colors.
Yeah, the black not only has the entombs and the reanimates, but also can kind of keep you in the game if you're.
Well, and it
trying
has
to get
like
to
the Shriek Maws and the Skid,
right, the cards that keep you alive long enough to
things that are good to go
off.
get with survival.
Yeah,
Recurring Nightmare, obviously.
That's the dream card.
The dream card, but these decks typically run best when they're those 3 colors.
This is one of the few times I'm not like snapping off a 2-mana ramp artifact where normally early in the draft.
This is not the place for it. 2-mana ramp artifacts are worst in green-white, I think, just because you're just looking to play dudes and you're gonna have ramp by default.
Undercity Informer is a utility card in the cube, and it has, in theory, and we haven't seen this in practice.
It's very new.
Yeah, it should be able to function in all zones. Like, I want to mill myself to fill my graveyard with Oath of Ghouls or Oversold, or I hit a reanimation target or a big creature. I want to mill you out with my small creatures, like hopefully get back like Gravecrawler. Some kind of combination like that where maybe we have the Recurring Nightmare deck. So I like it because it also has a very positive interaction with Revel Arc here. I'd be looking to wheel it, which would be another reason I'd be interested in taking Godless Shrine.
Yeah. I think it's just probably... I mean, this pack isn't very stellar. I think it's probably Shrine. I mean, you could take Balance and try and make Balance work, but this is the bad color combination for it.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely drafted a deck very recently where I had green-white creatures with Balance, and the Balance sat in my hand most games of that draft. I think there was one time where it was a Wrath against somebody that I was very behind against that I probably would have been just as easily serviced by having a good creature.
Yeah. Alright, so for our next scenario, very different setup here. Our cards so far are Greater Gargadon, Flames of the Firebrand, Tainted Pact, and Avalanche Riders. We open Naturalize, Cunning Spark Mage, Smokestack, Elixir Immortality, Comet Storm, Rocky Tar Pit, Pact of Negation, Searing Spear, Cricket Mage, Crater Hellion, and Shellback Isle.
Man, that Cutting Spark Mage is like in every pack these days.
Yeah.
I like that's the kind of deck I want Smokestacks in. Interesting, because I think that Eck would tell you could wheel the Smokestacks, because no one will ever play it.
That's absolutely true.
And I'm going to tell you that as much as I like Smokestacks here, I don't dislike it. I want to be a little more proactive. And since we have access to so much red damage in this pack, I want to take one of those cards, and it's kind of a choice.
Interesting.
Do I want to go big and try to go Crater Hellion? Although that's a little risky since I have Avalanche Riders with the whole, using my mana when to do what. It doesn't really fit in the same plan.
There you go. Avalanche Riders, pay Echo, turn 6, Crater Hellion.
Turn 5, no. Oh, yes, sorry. Turn 5, pay Echo.
Turn 6.
Turn 6, Crater Hellion. You got a stew going?
Yeah. I actually, interestingly enough, I want to take a land here, and I want to take Rocky Tar Pit. And the reason I want to do that is, I think we're very clearly looking to be red. We have good red cards so far. We're, at the very least, going to be splashing Tainted Pact, because Tainted Pact is a very, very good card.
It went out of favor with a lot of people for a long time, but I think that they just were...
The more multicolored decks that you can support, the better Tainted Pact becomes, because the basic land counts drop.
Yeah, and the more non-basics you have in your cube.
Yeah. I think we, at the very least, want to be splashing that Tainted Pact, and fetch lands tend to be very good in the red deck anyway because of things like Plated Geopede and Searing Blaze. And in terms of aggressive, just red cards in general, in this pack, Cunning Spark Mage and Searing Spear are okay, but they're very replaceable. I feel like if that was a Lightning Bolt instead of a Searing Spear, I think this conversation is different.
Really? That one colorless mana in a 4-card collection like this makes that much difference?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You can get more burn spells of the quality of Searing Spear over the course of a draft. Very often when I'm playing the aggressive red deck, I'm not at a lack of playables. It does happen sometimes, but usually it's the other things about the deck that have trouble potentially.
At the end of the day, Rocky Tar Pit?
I think I'm going Rocky Turpin.
All right, I am firmly Searing Spear, and my argument for that. What if it was a Lightning Burst? I would also take the Lightning Burst, Burst Lightning.
I would probably still take Rocky Turpin.
So the thing about the identity of our deck, or rather our 4 soon-to-be 5 Magic cards right now, is we're kind of on the fence, actually. I mean, we could play a very aggressive red deck. We could have a top of 4. We could play a big red deck with, taking advantage of Gregor Gargadon. And we could end up playing some kind of weird, black-red, kill everything, kill your stuff deck. Any of those iterations, I don't think there's an upper limit on the Searing Spear effect cards that I want in my deck. And by taking Searing Spear, I feel like I feel safer in more questionable, higher mana cost picks that I'm going to see down the road. For example, if I took that Tar Pit and then that Crater Hellion tabled, I'd be a little more wary about having them both in the same deck, just because it's going to take a long time to cast my spells. Having the Searing Spear, now regardless of what comes back, I already have the Flames in my hand, I get the Tainted Pact. Hopefully I have earlier plays to make sure that I can disrupt the board or just deal damage. And, Searing Spear closes the game out just as good as any other Lightning Bolt type effect.
Sure. I just think at the same time you're always going to want a fetch land in any of these decks that we're talking about.
No, I mean, if that Searing Spear was instead, like, Terastodon, then yes, I would take Rocky Tar Pit over
like Cutting Spark Mage.
Cutting Spark Mage,
Crater
Comet
Hellion.
Storm, yeah. But here I'm just taking the closest thing to an Incinerate I can get.
Alright. To each his own.
I mean, well, this week we had one agree, one convert to an agree. You can have one where we're very happy in opposing camps.
Opposing camps, sure.
Whoa. So,
drop you right there.
a few weeks ago, I was joking about the idea of doing a Modern Masters Cube update. Because we had changed a lot of cards with Dragon's Maze, we were playing with a lot of stuff, and we were getting a lot of feedback because we were playing a lot more. And I don't remember what... Oh! There were just so many good Golgari cards, or black-green cards, that eventually it was like, we have so much redundancy in the effects we have in these colors. Like, let's change it up, let's do something else. And I was like, I really feel like Abrupt Decay is hitting the fewest things. I think that it's, it can't be countered effect is kind of marginal and not really very impactful as were, something like Putrefy. I thought in my head it had more targets and more to do in the game. So this whole conversation started with like, okay, let's cut Abrupt Decay. If we're going to, a set has come out that gives us kind of liberty to make a change. We are between set release, we're between Cube League seasons, so the Cube doesn't have to be like locked in stone. It's all very good timing. So this was like a unraveling of something that is raveled. I know, I'm out of metaphors.
We ended up going super deep.
We went a little deep. We didn't go super deep. Like, we went super deep in the last update.
Yeah.
Going from, like, we changed, like, maybe 20 cards a set, including things that are not in the set. This last update, we went 72 cards. This time around, just brainstorming and talking with people, we got 28 cards.
We had a powwow.
I mean, we admit that there were a couple, like, distinct misses in the last update. I don't know
Sacred Mesa, Fisher.
I don't know how those cards slipped through the cracks, but we were going to fix that problem right fast. So it made an opening, and we have the new rules change coming up. So we thought, kill as many birds with as few stones as possible. So we've brought back like Yosai to kind of combo with Progenitor Mimic. We talked about how the fact that blue has no 1-drops. It's not really going to have a lot of opportunity to get a lot of good 1-drops. We want that to be something you can do, especially because we play Standstill in the Cube. So as much as I'm not a huge Delver of Secrets fan, I'm giving the people the opportunity to play with Delver of Secrets and Phantasmal Bear.
I just don't like that one. I'm sorry.
If Sam Party was here, Grand Prix winning Sam Party, hopefully currently crushing GP Vegas Sam Party, he would tell you the merits of the cards like Phantasmal Bear. And
merits, if you will.
Poor Kraken Hatchling. That card just doesn't do... Unless you can put a Trusty Machete on it, it's just bad.
And by Trusty Cryptologist.
I just want to beat down. I mean, that's the whole like Azure Mage.
Why do you want to beat down in blue? That doesn't even make sense.
Because it's something. It's more. It can do different and more things.
Right. Because blue needs to do more things. Sure. I mean, I like this change because it makes blue worse. So that's good.
Your exact words from that conversation.
Yeah.
We also brought back... We
put actual blanks in the blue spot that are just like token, like proxies.
I just like how, with the Dragon's Base update, we cut like 3 hard counters, I think. It was like, we cut Dismiss.
Yeah, we cut Dismiss, we cut...
And then like the first week after the change, somebody drafts like 16 Island Mono Blue.
Yeah.
Alright, well, help. Whatever. So on the... okay, so we changed 2 of the blue creatures. We brought in / back some Madness spells to kind of give a little more to the Bizarre Baghdad strategies. And it's interesting, from the preliminary Bizarre Baghdad drafts, you have it kind of jammed into the blue-black Reanimator deck, but I've also seen kind of just like 4-color weird Bizarre, like whatever we can do. Like Zach drafted that, Bizarre out my Bloodghast.
That was a sweet one.
With Mano Swamp's deck.
He Bizarre turn 1 and discarded Bloodghast,
Angel of Serenity,
and a flashback spell.
Yeah. I don't remember which one it was.
It was impressive.
And then next turn he played Forest.
Yeah.
That was interesting. So we brought in Circular Logic, which I've never played in Cube, but I
think it's fine.
No, it's totally fine. That's a problem with blue.
Yeah.
Like, there's no bad blue cards. They're just all fine. We brought back Fiery Temper.
No, that's just Temper.
And we also brought in Basking Rootwalla, who is an old crowd favorite.
I love Basking Rootwalla.
As Aki's the crowd.
I am a very staunch Survival of the Fittest fan.
Which is sad because we're cutting Wild Mongrel.
That's fine, because Wild Mongrel is at AIDS.
But he just got Fiery Temper, Circular Logic, and his good buddy Basking Rootwalla back.
Do not care.
We brought back Carrion Feeder, which was a bit of a brick, actually, when we cut it, thinking that there were more strategies with the Sack Creatures outlet, which we'll get to further in the talk. Trying out Nightveil Spectre, who I really liked in the MTGO cube, and it didn't seem like we were losing a whole lot cutting Liliana Spectre. I mean, Liliana Spectre was one time in 20 drafts. It was like a blowout because it was like getting their last card, and like Ether Vial at instant speed, and you'd want to like recur it with Recurring Nightmare or something. But Nightveil Spectre also being kind of that blue hybrid gives us another opportunity. Oh, we're being asked to rank Basking Rootwalla versus Twin Blade Slasher versus Wolf-Bitten Captive. I would definitely put Twin Blade Slasher at the bottom. Wolf-Bitten Captive, we've played with before, and it's been an interesting card.
It's okay.
It's funny because it's almost worse if it flips on turn 1.
Yeah, like you almost just want it to be Wolf-Bitten Captive, and not whatever the other set is.
2/2 that you have to pay 4 to make it 6/6. Not that what's it called?
Kratlin Horde Killer.
That's a decent name. We've played Wolf-Bitten Captive and Twin Blade Slasher over the years. I thought Wolf-Bitten Captive was going to be a little bit deeper, but it again, it ended up being like a 2/2 that you just never wanted to have to worry about activating, and it was one of those things where it's like the flip side. It would almost be better if it was some kind of invert, where you had to like pay 4 to give it +4/+4 on the 1/1 side,
right?
And then pay 2 to give it +2/+2.
Yeah, that'd be way better,
right? Because you would have a turn where you didn't want to cast something, and it would be worthwhile to do that ability. Where like once it's already flipped, you're like, I don't want to spend all my mana to make my guy not die.
Yeah, and also it's also a function of Walla is in basically because it has Madness and because it interacts with a lot of other decks in the cube. Slasher and Captive are kind of very strictly like green aggro cards, which are pretty few and far between at this point. Green is much more of a mid-range strategy. There was a time when it was Wild Dogs, Gasband Ogre, Tavern Munch Maniac,
Jungle Lion,
Pouncing Jaguar, etc., etc.
Wow, there were a lot more of them than I thought.
Yeah. But that day has kind of come and gone, so...
as were, those cards were very, very aggressive cards. Basking Rootwalla is in many ways a free card. The decks that want to draft it, the decks that play it most effectively, do so at almost no cost.
Basking Rootwalla often is the Spanish Inquisition, where no one expects it.
Sure.
Because you just like pitch it to, a tapped Psychotog when they attack, and you're like, ha-ha, gotcha.
Then you pump it up and kill their Ninja of the Deep Hours or something. I'm trying to think of a better scenario. Their Edric,
sure.
They have. So that covers that. That's We got through the little bit of white. We got a little bit of blue. We got the black there. For red, we're bringing in Mizium mortars.
Can we just talk real briefly about cutting Aurelius Fury?
Well, I was going to do it in order, but we could jump around to it. Yeah.
You're
going
going
kind of going down.
We'll go in order. Fine.
Comet Storm, as much as I have very fond memories of it, is very slow. And
it's so clunky.
It's just very slow. It does cool stuff, but Mizium Mortars almost does all of those things, but also Flame Slashes a lot of the times that you can't do the other thing. So that's huge. And we're bringing in Goblin Welder, in an attempt to spice up a whole new angle of the cube. And Welder was kind of part of a conversation I'll get to when we get to artifacts, but we've kind of kicked around putting in Welder for what feels like forever.
Yeah, Welder is one of those cards where everyone's like, oh, it's just going to be a 1/1. Oh, you need all the artifacts.
We don't have Mishra's Workshop. We don't have all
now you're going to play Metalworker.
All these cards make it broken. I think our cube does enough that I'm not too concerned about it. I mean, the arguments for and against are much more centered around the artifact section of your cube than they are about the red or Goblin Welder himself related portion of the cube. But I will say that adding a little more value to a card like Ranger Vios also really makes me happy. So I'm also glad we get to have that. It kind of makes me want to play Lightning Greaves again, although we didn't. I'm already getting ahead of myself. We didn't bring it back in this update, but it's possible that interaction will come back. Yes, we do play Stormbind.
Also, combo with Krenko.
Boom, the mob boss. Now, I know a lot of other cubes run Krenko, and while this hill giant-y looking fellow may seem unexciting on the surface because he doesn't have an enters the battlefield trigger, he's, to me...
He can get out of hand in a hurry.
Yeah,
my problem with Krenko is I'm not sure where he'll fit.
Right, and I think that's exciting. I'm interested to see where strategies go after him.
I am sad to see Teferdurm go.
Because all we do is get mocked all day long for trying to make that card good.
Yeah.
The funny thing is that of Teferdurm's time in the cube, it got cast like a decent amount.
Yeah, I played it.
And almost never before or after a wildfire.
You gotta make these sometimes.
Sometimes you gotta just attack with a guy.
I like the return of Sylvan Might. A little sad to see Primal Command go, but...
It is the clunkiest of the weird spells. We wanted to bring more pump spells back into the cube. Eck is obviously hating on Giant Growth all day long.
All day, every day.
So I thought I'd diversify the pump a little bit. So we got a Sylvan Might. We're bringing back Berserk. Berserk will also kind of lead into the talk about achievements when we get to that point today, but...
The Titan.
So yes, just recently we also mocked Primeval Titan, because we were like, getting some lands, meh. But after considering the fact that we have 0 6-drops in green, and your choices of 6-drops in green are so few and far between.
I still like Rampaging Bailouts, personally.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. I had hoped that with the fact we have 90 non-basics, and we have so much going on, that maybe Primeval Titan would be
something cool.
Do something cool.
Bizarre Baghdad.
If it bricks, which it might, it'll become Rampaging Bailouts.
Okay.
So we were talking about basketball. Yes, we have the greatest Magic card disappointment of the first half of 2013 in the form of Aurelius Fury. But the real question is, we have to stop.
I'm on camera when that card got spoiled, gushing about how amazing it was and how insane it was going to be a blowout every time you cast it, man.
You are eating your humble pie very well, because I don't remember it. I wasn't going to bring it up. I thought we were just going to all kind of take one collectively as a team here.
I mean, I was not alone, but
I thought it was good. Instant speed fireball for 1 white on top of it is already good.
Yeah, Rolling Thunder.
Tap your opponent's blockers.
Rolling Thunder with multiple upsides.
Yeah, tap your opponent's blockers in some kind of Blinding Beam-esque style. Seemed really good. Mostly Orm's Chant your opponent. Seemed really good. Strangely, and in reality, none of these things transpired.
It never worked.
I even hit you for 17 with it one time to not win the game. Remember that?
Yeah.
Dark Ritual in the same term. Endless Worm is not in the cube. I've actually never run that guy. I'd say it's a 9/9 for 5 or something. I have to sack it if I don't control what have you. So now we're bringing in another card that's a little more wildfire friendly, a little more control deck friendly for the Boros decks in the big game, in Assemble the Legion. When I first saw this card, I thought it was going to be a little too slow for cube.
I do like mustering.
Right. If you're like Sam, you just muster every upkeep. Muster.
Yeah. I was saying you get packets of Heinz mustard, from...
That'll end well.
Yeah. Buster.
So we will give it a shot. With again, keeping an eye towards those wildfire-esque strategies. Also good with the hops.
Sure.
Yeah, good with the hops. But the linchpin of this entire cube change all comes with... Oh, no, I'm one ahead of myself. So, the big lead-up. You teased me. We talked about it on the Dragon's Maze show, and I've been thinking about it ever since then. And now, with the inclusion of Berserk, an achievement to be named later, assuming we make the finals, I really want to play with Nivix Cyclops in cube for realsies. I think that this could be a strategy. This could be a thing.
You want a Berserk Nivix Cyclops?
Oh, I want a Berserk Nivix Cyclops real bad. Preferably after, I Ancestral and Bolt their blocker or something.
Okay, fine.
I mean, why dream small?
Yeah.
So, I think it's extremely ironic that we are adding the Cyclops and cutting the card where in the artwork he's being obliterated.
We have a strict one artistic appearance of Nivix Cyclops per cube rule. So
sticking to it.
Yeah, it's just policy,
So we lose Prophetic Bolt, which has been in the cube since cube was made. So that's a big deal. I love all the blue-red spells. They are my children. But we want to give the Cyclops a shot.
And Prophetic Bolt is the clunkiest of all.
Yeah. I mean, you did target a Precursor Golem or two with it in your day.
I mean, but at the point at which it's been in so long, obviously it's going to have some stories just off of Ling.
Right.
So,
I definitely remember playing matches 5 years ago where no one casts a creature, no one casts a creature, no one casts a creature,
finally, screw it,
no one casts a creature. 7 mana, okay, Prophetic Bolt you. Counterspell, remain my Prophetic Bolt, I'll do that again later.
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, the impetus of this change was the newfound love for Voral's the Scar-Striped. This guy has been recently referred to as the new Arcbound Ravager.
Yeah, I have heard that. The ability to effectively move your creatures around as if they were +1/+1 counters, albeit at sorcery speed as opposed to instant speed. I just think, he does something a little bit different in the black-green section. I think he's fine.
He's fine.
Regeneration is definitely going to give a fair amount of dex bits, which is always good. And having another sacrifice outlet / thing that cares about your graveyard is really where I'm at.
Yeah,
right now.
we would probably be interested in adding another half dozen cards of this nature.
Oh yeah,
if
we went really deep,
of that quality. I mean, obviously, Grizzly Salvage and Dreadmangler are in the same color combination, so we're a bit boned when we're trying to find cards that work in that.
If we weren't so locked into the structure of the cube, green black would have all kinds of crazy tricks.
Right. Yeah. If we wanted to kind of remove balance and just kind of go all wonky in size and shape,
modern art style,
that strategy would be a lot deeper. So we have we go right from the most exciting and happy change in the cube to possibly the most shameful, and I'm blatantly doing this for other people.
Yeah,
cube
this
change.
is the one that makes me actually physically mad.
Now you can tell that we're playgroup friendly, and a lot of people weigh in on this subject because we are adding Shardless Agent to the cube
and removing Simic Charm.
Yeah, most indifference to that. Simic Charm is cool.
I'm mad.
Simic Charm is cool. It does stuff.
I'm mad.
But I want you to understand that both the co-hosts of the Magic Box consider this
do not condone this trick.
It's a wary change, and this card better do everything that I was promised by other people.
It better go into Ancestral Recall every single time,
and then immediately untap and tinker.
Yeah,
in a way because it's an artifact, right? It's an artifact.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I just no. I don't like.
I'm willing to give anything a chance once. So, go for it, Shardless Agent. Eat your heart out.
Another one is Progenitor Mimic in for Simic Sky Swallower.
This was a long... we spent an hour debating blue-green card changes. We came out with making it 6 creatures, no spells. We lost Big Simi, who I'm definitely sad about. I think Simic Sky Swallower is still one of the great finishers.
I think there's just not enough room for multiple expensive, clunky guys.
Which is why we had to cut him, despite the fact we're adding Progenitor Mimic, and then we had to go and add Coiling Oracle, because it's a creature, but it doesn't cost 1,000,000 mana. But I don't really like Coiling Oracle.
I like him.
It should be an achievement if you're going to attack for some number of damage with Coiling Oracle.
Like Suntail Hawk style, like Lava.
Yeah, if you can turn your guy... So, Projera Mimic is obviously like the hottest kid on the block with the rules update. That's why we brought Yosei back in, as we mentioned a little while ago. That guy's going to be hot, and in no way cold.
Catch release.
Also known as the biggest Eck trolling of the year.
It was a bust, not gonna lie. Broodmate Dragon, however, just fine.
We're still kicking around. That's not a lock. That might become Rafik.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, Zach and I were talking a lot about it.
I almost wish it was a color combination that we didn't already have a card for.
Right. That's my thing.
Like, we already have like multi Grixis. We have at least one Jund.
Multi-Esper.
We have multi-Esper.
Yeah, and the other card that he wanted was Empirical Archangel, too. So it's like a different band card. And
I like Empirical Archangel.
I like it, too. The last thing,
Fiery Justice?
I could be talked into that. At that point, like, I want to bring back all little zoo critters. Kavu Predator, Lone Lion, Wild and Coddle.
I mean...
Like, actually give something to the players that... at the end of the day, the Jund card that is in the cube right now is Hellkite Overlord. And 99 times out of 100, the Jund deck is not drafting it and casting it. Other decks, Reanimator, are taking it and abusing it. Show and tell of the Druids. The last time I cast Hellkite Overlord, my board was Swamp, Island, Mox Emerald.
Yeah, like
Black Lotus.
Yeah.
Sack cast Hellkite Overlord.
I mean, the 3-color section I feel like could use a little attention.
It's the Wild West over in the 3-color section.
Yeah.
But I think that there's value and reach in Broodmate Dragon, so that should be pretty exciting. Now down the artifact section, since we brought Welder back, bringing back Mindslaver. We're also cutting back on the sphere plan, since in the last update we scaled back the land destruction, definitely by removing a lot of the black, and the spheres were very good in that scenario. So that stuff was all pretty straightforward. Where I really went off the deep end, and this kind of mostly spawned from a conversation I was having with a nice little 10-year-old who was playing Magic with us, was about Jester's Cap.
Do not adjust your Twitch streams. Jester's Cap is going into the cube in 2013.
Now, our cube, it's 700 cards, and I pride myself on, there's aggro, there's mid-range, there's combo, there's control. There's a little bit of everything for everyone. And to me, Jester's Cap, it's Magic history. It just reminds me of the old days of playing. And you get in a control match where just taking out their 3-win conditions can really lock you up in a game is hilarious. Heaven forbid you get the Welder situation going and you're just kind of selectively decking them. You don't know strong opinions one way or the other on this card?
Oh, I have an opinion, and it's strong, but you don't want to hear it. But I'm also, we've had this conversation a lot about the value of Magic history or nostalgia in Cube, and I am very much the, soulless realist when it comes to it.
You're the Ben Stark of the situation.
I hate...
If the cards had no artwork...
Right, if you didn't know when it was printed, and it didn't have artwork,
you'd be fine.
You would never play Giant Growth, you would never play Parades, you would never play Smokestack, you would never play Jester's Cap. The Cube cards would be better, overall. But, nostalgia includes are what they are, and I made my opinion very clear on all of them.
Again, I'm not married to the Cap. If it bricks hard and it's 15th picked for 2 months or 3 months and everyone just laughs at it, we'll obviously quickly revisit the situation. But we're not losing anything. The artifact section is the most wild and free-flowing
other than 3-color?
Beyond the 3-color. So
yeah.
I feel much more liberal in the choices made surrounding that section.
Last but not least, Caldorn Outpost for Academy Runes. Increase back to more artifact sacking, things like that.
Again, more ways to loop your Jester's Cap.
Right. Outpost, its time has kind of passed. It used to be in Cube a long time ago. We've tried it again, occasionally.
Cube is just not slow enough for Outpost anymore.
It's too costly, and it's just not really what you want to be doing.
I still think I want it to be good. I don't know if it's going to get there.
I mean, the desire is certainly there, sure, but that's a sweet effect, being able to make guys with your lands. But it's just you got to sack a land, you got to spend all this mana. It's just a lot of work for 1/1s.
Well, it's going to be a short episode tonight, kids, because we are going to actually be streaming. Actual streaming.
Actual
what Twitch
Magic
was
made for streaming.
I know. You don't have to look at our ugly mugs. Come 8 p.m. Pacific time this lovely evening.
Well, they will. That'll be up.
Oh, okay. Well, mini mugs. Tiny mugs. We will be 11th anniversary
Sealing.
MTGOing. So if you're live with us, again, feel free to switch back when you're not watching GP Vegas coverage, because that's priority. We're just bagging out here doing our own thing.
At 8 o'clock is when the event starts.
And if you're listening to this after the fact on the podcast, which literally thousands more of you are,
ignore entirely.
No, don't ignore entirely. Go back and watch.
Oh, yeah, it's on stream, I guess.
Yeah.
If you want to watch 6 hours or however long it's going to take to do this.
Just skip to the highlights.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll briefly touch on it next week in the show, so you know where to go to. Definitely watch round 2. Something can change. Yeah, we're not leaving you yet, but we are just letting you know that if the show has to end
in 24 minutes,
if the show has to end abruptly, some of us hit the early bird dinner, some of us did not. We're gonna have to get that situation figured out. It's also Saturday night, so there will be some form of
partying,
Eck drinking game for us in the room.
Right. We'll have to look at the pool and then determine what the triggers are.
Right. If we ever get some kind of stenographer or someone just to make transcripts of the cast and then find out what the most commonly overused phrases and words are.
Yeah. Another thing I wanted to touch on real quick, as I typed chat, is a lot of you have talked to me on Twitter or us about CubeTutor.com.
Oh yes. Oh, I did not want to leave them out today. Thank you.
For those of you who are not familiar, CubeTutor.com is a resource. Guys, he's been developing it for a little while. It's in a much better shape than a couple weeks ago, even.
Let's show them
better.
Yes.
So I'll load that up right now.
This is mostly new news to me as well. I had
So, CubeTutor.com is it's a resource for not only browsing other people's cubes, but also uploading and analyzing your own. So, for instance, the cube index, right? These are all different, you've got, this is a 360 peasant or pauper, and it tells you the changes that get made, add and remove.
Very smart, yeah.
And
does it date them or anything? It does date them?
It dates the changes.
That's something Chris Pakula does a very good job with his cube of doing.
It has the list, posted by color and things like that. You can mock draft, but this is still a little work in progress.
Have you messed around with it a little bit?
I can get 10 picks in and it fails.
Oh, okay.
So it's there. You can visually look at the entire cube, as well as it's nice automatic analysis in terms of a breakdown of colors.
Well, let's load ours up.
All right, we'll load ours up.
Who's Ben? Because that guy is.
I think that's the guy that makes the site.
Got a lot of cubes.
So. Here's ours. Now, you may notice that certain color sections are slightly off from traditional. This is mostly because things like Swans of Burn Argol are considered Azorius.
Shipped back to multicolor.
Right. So, I did a lot of double checking to make sure everything was there.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
So if you look at the blog post, right, the last couple changes are
you were just missing a card here and there.
Well, the problem is so the way you upload to Cube Tutor also is so when you have a cube, you can bulk upload. You can do Excel documents, but you can do CSVs. So you can export from Google Docs to a CSV, comma-separated values. And then it will load automatically, most of the files.
Mm-hmm.
Some stuff, just because of punctuation and stuff, will get screwy.
Right.
But it's much faster than, either copy-pasting it or trying to type everything in. I mean, I uploaded our entire cube in, 10, 15 minutes.
That's
and then
incredible.
Took a couple extra minutes to count out some missing ones. It's also got built-in sample packs,
Damnation.
which are nice. So, if you were to go to analysis, very even.
As well it should be. It should be. Guilds. Ooh, interesting data.
Guilds.
What guild is the least represented in our cube?
Looks like Simic.
What's next to Simic there?
Dimir.
Dimir and Simic least represented.
Is it, actually?
Oh.
So the problem with that is that the split cards are counted as one or the other.
Split cards are counted as one or the other, but Swans...
So Fire Ice is listed as Fire.
Okay.
Turn and Burn is listed as Turn or
Got
whatever.
Okay.
So, but they're all there.
Still a spectacular resource.
Also, if you want to go really deep, so you can manually edit the list by a
Say
bunch.
like what version?
Right. So like you can say, oh, is this foil, non-foil, blah blah blah, and like you can
FBB miscut classic. I don't
Right.
even really know what that means.
So if I haven't found a way to mass do this.
to bulk update.
Yeah. So
You also had to change what set, but that's kind of cool because if you change what set it is, then when you go to do the visual spoiler and stuff, it'll actually show
yes,
you.
it will actually show you what.
So
they
instead
look
it's the Avacyn Restored Barter and Blood, it'll have the mirror.
right. So like it's the fake draft. Oh, we'll take Coalition Relic. Oh, now we'll take
Bizarre.
We'll take Bizarre Baghdad. Okay. Oh, now we'll take
Entomb.
Oh, we're going deep. Now we'll take.
I was gonna say Eureka. Okay, Kikiji, I can get behind that.
That
like
it's already
restarted the
straight.
whole draft?
Yeah, it just so it's still a work in progress, but it's already a very we're on Tapped Out as well. This is a great resource, not only for our cube but for other people's cubes. I put a link on the website.
Oh, now on the blog. So on the blog you have a link to our Cube Tutor page as well as.
Yes. So and I'll put it in chat right now too.
Oh, it gives cube descriptions. Got all that cool stuff in there.
Yeah. So
So you've used Tapped Out and you used Cube Tutor. What I'm hearing is it sounds like for everything other than a mock draft, you are in the Cube Tutor boat.
Cube Tutor I feel like has better upside because they're still getting better. The first time I remember the guy who does this site. I want to say his name is Ben, but I'm not sure. He talked to me on Twitter. When he sent me the original site that he had put together, it was very bare bones. Edit, you could upload a cube, but it couldn't save, and it did like some analysis, but it wasn't great. And then that was like maybe a month ago, and now it's already like to this point where it's clean, professional.
I like our checkmark summaries. We are eternal.
We are powered,
and we are large.
Yeah.
I
wonder what happens if you go over 720. Huge. So yeah, and
so we got some pie charts.
it's got mana curve, for all the colors.
Who's it? Is that Red pushing a bunch of sixes? Who's that outlier? Yeah, Red. Trying to be cool.
It doesn't
like
include
that.
artifacts yet, or colorless spells, or gold spells apparently. But it's a start, and it's going to get better. Eventually, the draft thing will get fixed. Right now, the best reason to use Tapped Out over Cube Tutor would be if you want to mock draft with other people.
That's what Tapped Out just the other day. Because oftentimes I'll just go on there when I'm killing time, waiting for rounds between a draft and MTGO or something, and just run a mock draft by myself. And at this point, I kind of figured out how the bots operate. But the other day, I think I left one open. I went to grab a water or something. I came back 10 minutes later, and the queue was full.
Nice.
People were just waiting to mock draft the queue. I was like, awesome,
run it,
let's go.
So anyway, that's Cube Tutor. If you have a cube of your own, it's great for breakdowns, great for organizational purposes. I highly recommend them checking them out.
Is there any kind of functionality currently that would allow, I know this is something that Salvation has a great thread on, which is the most common cards versus outliers. So 90% of cubes.
I don't know. I literally did this last night at 11:30. So
okay, so you haven't poked around with it yet. But what you are endorsing is the incredible simplicity and ease of the process.
Yeah, it was very straightforward to do this, which is very nice. So anyway,
ringing endorsement, completely unpaid for, unsolicited.
Yeah,
the people at Cube Tutor.
They are
Thank
solid.
you for what you've done. I'm very much a visual person, so for as many years as we have been kind of doing the spreadsheets of cubing, a more visual spoiler base is spectacular to be able to kind of have my own reference. If people send me links to their cubes, they always want me to critique. I always feel like I'm just going through lines of text forever and ever. Okay, make a note about that card. What? Okay, I can make a note about that card. But with the visual, it's a lot easier to just quickly blow by.
Yeah.
And be like, what is that? Wait, how many things cost that size? That's kind of weird. So yeah, loving it.
Well, I think given the abbreviated nature of today's show,
we at least broke an hour. Which is,
barely.
We are 50% for what we usually do. We apologize we're not phoning it in this week. We're just
short for time.
Yeah, short for time and a little sweaty because it is warm up in here on a Saturday afternoon. So, good luck to everyone competing in Vegas. We have obviously taken an hour off or a round or so off to bring you a bit of an update from over there. We'll want to check out that information ourselves. And check anyone watching us live, check back on the stream. Soon we will be broadcasting the 11th anniversary Seal Deck event in about 15 minutes. And anyone who's listening to this after the fact, please go to Twitch/TV, Twitch.tv.
That's how the internet works.
/Eckamon to go back and watch what will not be a train wreck, will be the exact opposite. Until next week, thanks for listening.
So